enjoy reading these from time to time, and I thought reading them, you guys might like that idea too. And they are creepypastas, based on whatever, however you say it. And if you're not into that thing, kind of whatever, you don't want to listen to this. But if you want to hear me whisper a random creepypasta that I just found, then continue. In a dilapidated office building somewhere in Connecticut is one of the few elevators in the Western world that actually has a button labeled 13 amongst its choices of floors. Enter after midnight, crawling through the loosely boarded up window on the south side of the building. You will find the elevator doors standing open, with soft fluorescent lighting and music spilling from it. Even though nothing else in the whole of the building seems to have power, you can, if you choose, pick through the debris of voracious teenage parties and office meetings past. The path seems to be mostly cleared through the broken, dirty, stained, vintage office furniture and burned out joints, cigarettes, and crushed cans, all the way to the light in the door. All of the buttons work in the elevator and will take you to its designated floor. Despite the creaking of the cables, though there seems to be a layer of grime on their plastic covers. All but the button labeled 13, which seems to glow brightly. No one's quite sure if that one goes to the 13th floor, but there's a story about a group of high school teenagers who had a party after their prom there in the early 90s. A dare was made, and 4 of them piled into the rickety old elevator, hitting the 13th floor button. They went up. When they came back again, they were pale and shaking, but all of them swore they'd seen nothing more than a normal office floor covered in dust and shadows. 2 of them died in an accident on the car ride home that night. Another 3 weeks later took a bottle of pills from the medicine cabinet, climbed into a hot bath, and dropped the hairdryer into the water. The 4th disappeared from the face of the planet 2 months later. None of them said anything of what they'd seen on the 13th level of the building, but when asked, would only ascertain, loudly if necessary, that nothing had happened. But you can, if you so choose, crawl in through the window and see for yourself. Alright, I'm gonna do one more. Let's find a good one here. See how long it is. Oh, this one's a little too long. Let's find another. Alright. I think we're getting closer. I had the first one ready, but now I should probably get another one. Alright. So the story is one very, very random one. Almost like all of these are, to be honest. Last week, on a wet and windy night, with no motivation to finish my college assignments, I began to pursue the internet as a way to procrastinate, as we all often do. Having completed Sonic the Hedgehog on an emulator a few hours earlier, I was in a nostalgic had such an influence on when you were young and innocent. Soon I was lost reveling in such classics as Melts in Your Mouth, Not in Your Hand, Who Loves Orange Soda, No Soup for You, How You Doing, Come With Me If You Want to Live, The Truth Is Out There, and of course, What's Up. I only realized that I'd lost track of time when I tried to find my phone in what was now a pitch dark room. Checking the time on my monitor, I was shocked to find it was already 2 a.m. I resolved to go to bed as I had class in the morning, but couldn't resist watching one last video. Just to round off the night, scanning through the suggestions, I was disappointed to find that I had watched them all, except for this one video at the very bottom, entitled Bill Cosby Sells His Soul for Pudding. Although I had a vague idea of who Bill Cosby was from old Simpsons episodes, I'd never actually seen anything he was famous for. But I'll admit, the title intrigued me somewhat. As I clicked the link and sat back to be entertained, I had no idea that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. The video started off innocently enough. Obviously, some old commercial for gelatin. Bill Cosby was standing in the kitchen, surrounded by little kids. There's an easy way to make Jell-O instant pudding. Just shake it, he announced in a cheery voice. The video skipped a bit at this point, lingering on the shake it part, a tad annoying, but the internet in the house could become a little jittery at times, so I was used to it. The video cut to Cosby's head moving in from left of the screen. Followed the directions, he said. I wasn't sure why at the time, but something about that was vaguely unsettling, though I thought perhaps it was due to the fact that it was a sudden jump cut. A mangled version of the product jingle played, then it cut back to the follow the directions, only slower. The next part was for a different advert, or from a different advert. Crosby was holding 4 jiggling watermelons. The movement seemed to be semi-cyclical, moving from the start to the end and back again. It was hypnotic and quite nauseating, which made it all the more abrupt when the audio cut to triple speed. What's making these watermelons wiggle? I felt at this point extremely uncomfortable, like my defenses were being broken down. I felt like, just like Jell-O. Cosby finished the thought for me several times. This was beginning to feel really weird. The scene cut to a ginger kid repeating the same movement over and over. That's it, I thought. Enough of this. Ginger kids freaked me out at the best of times. As I raised my hand to move the mouse, however, something particular happened. A cut to Crosby again, moving his left hand in seemingly random directions. Pudding Pop in his right, repeating, this, or this, a number of times. My right hand immediately became stiff and started to spasm beyond my control, disrupting my path of the mouse. After that point on, I was powerless to control myself, forced to sit and witness what was unfolding before me. Regardless of will, at this point of no return, Cosby lingered a look of surprise my way, almost mockingly emitting a demonically low-pitched moan. I was scared. Another kid in the video seemed to echo my emotions. Hey, Bill Cosby, what's that? If I could have screamed at that point, I would have. Follow the directions, Crosby repeated horrifyingly. The mangled jingle played again, for longer this time, each second forcibly propping up my eyelids. instead of being nauseated, I felt lulled into subservience. The scene cut to a smiley-faced clock moving its hands in an almost wave-like pattern. A bit crunched warning, repeated almost too quick for me to make out. You sing, you die. You sing, you die. Before crunching completely into a jarring buzz, its eyes popping open and shut at a speed greater than that which should be physically possible. Follow the directions. Follow the directions. The video grinded to a complete halt. Cosby's judgmental eyes fixed squarely on mine, just long enough to make me feel a glimmer of hope that the internet had failed. Before he whipped his head back, saying, "Don't worry," with a smug superiority. Pudding Pop Swirl, the demon Crosby finished before letting his head fly about erratically on his unmoving shoulders in a movement akin to something out of The Exorcist. What? It continued, as if to eradicate any morsel of critical thinking left in my being. The demon proceeded to eat a chocolate pudding pop with a sleazy, unholy glee. A close-up cut to its burningly erotic gaze left me with no semblance of the lie that I had not been violated. Even though the video quality was grainy, those eyes pierced me to my very soul. They were so hyper-realistic. "Thank you," it finished, before posing itself like a cat ready to pounce. In the brief respite that followed, I allowed myself to exhale for the first time since the horror began. As the breath exuded, however, I felt my consciousness follow suit, all remnants of perception fading as I slipped into an abyss, serenaded by the haunting echo of watermelons, marking my descent into darkness until I knew no more. I came to by the sound of the front door closing downstairs. It was still dark outside. Man, I must have been conked out for at least an hour, I thought to myself as I rubbed the back of my creaky neck on the way down to the kitchen. I felt exhausted as I pushed open the door, but I needed both water and to find out who could be calling at this hour. Turns out it was just my housemate getting home from a nightclub. "Hey man," I greeted him. Didn't know you went out. Don't you have an exam in the morning? What, isn't it like 3 or 4 a.m.? "What are you talking about, dude?" he asked quizzically. "It's only half 12. The exam was in the morning. You high or something?" At this point, I felt extremely muddled. "Nah, man, that can't be right. I fell asleep like 2 hours ago. We were just playing Sonic earlier on, remember?" "Dude, that was yesterday. I ain't seen you at all today. Whatever you're on, you gotta share with me," he chuckled. My face nodded into a ball of confusion. I simply turned to go check my calendar upstairs. He couldn't have been right. "Pfft, fine," he snorted. "By the way, you owe me a box of pudding pops," he called after me. I froze. "What did you say?" "My pudding pops. I had a whole box this morning. Now they're gone." With that, I felt a tremendous fear and bolted up the stairs. "Hey man, don't worry about it. I ain't mad. Just get some new ones when you can, that's all," he shouted. I could barely hear him though as I raced to my room to check my computer. I thought it was just in power save mode when I woke up, but now it wouldn't even turn on. The screen was on standby, but the actual computer was unresponsive. After much frenzied inspection, I found the power cord had been cut. To say I was freaked out would have been a massive understatement. "What in the name of holy Jeebus is going on?" I remember muttering to myself. It's been a whole week since then, and things have just been getting stranger and stranger. The blackouts are becoming longer and more frequent, and I can feel myself slipping away every time I've slept. I've been plagued by visions of the beast, pudding, and ginger kids everywhere. I tried my best to fight it. I've been awake now for 48 hours, but it's no use. Sometimes I don't know where I am and can't communicate in anything other than nonsensical gibbering and jabbering. 2 days ago, I suddenly snapped back to reality to find myself staring at my fridge, full to the brim with pudding pops. I screamed and tried to run, but immediately fell to the floor, as I was wearing 2 halves of watermelon on my feet instead of shoes. I'm really scared. There's no one in the house anymore. All my housemates have disappeared. I can't even bear to think what may have happened to them. What, in my delirium, may have I done? The atrocities that monster may have used these hands for. I'm doomed. There's no hope for me. I realize that now. The reason I read this, I can't fix what I just read. It's not gonna work. So, have a good morning, good evening, and good night. Alright.